welcome to another video. I am Simply G, and today I'm going to be showing off all of the manga that I got for August. Sorry this is a little bit late, just had lots of stuff going on right now. But there's quite a few books here. I don't quite know how this keeps happening, and this is just the stuff that I continue to follow. I'm sure there's some ongoing series that I have yet to First up, as always, we have merchandise. I haven't even unpacked this one properly yet, but this is this year's birthday clear file set from Kyoto Animation for the Free Boys, and this is Haruka Nanase, the main character. He is always the first in the sequence because his is the first birthday in the sequence, starting from kind of summertime. So pretty typical. We have the chibi art on the back and then the more typical art on the front, and you can't really necessarily see it, but you can see it's a little bit glittery. It was a revelation when I saw that. I feel like this might be the last, I said this last time, but this time knowing that the films are out and there's no continuation, like that's the final part of this franchise, I doubt we'll see more free merchandise of this style next year, which will be good for me. I can finally be free from this ongoing collecting of free merchandise. But I think they're ending on a really strong set of artwork. The previous year's birthday art wasn't that impressive in my opinion. So I think they've really pulled out the stops, and again with the glitter effect, I think they've really nailed it with this one. I have an art book. It's been a little while since I've gotten an art book, and this is for the most recent in a series of art books from this creator for this franchise. So this is Yanatoboso's Black Butler artworks number 4. Like with the third volume, it has this arch window shape as the cutout for the front. Gold foiling on the cover as with the previous volumes, and this time we have a gold ribbon for the book, and as always we have just a range of very beautiful art pieces for the Black Butler manga series. A series that I wouldn't say is like super popular anymore, but once upon a time was hugely popular, has had some pretty mixed anime adaptations. I do enjoy this series. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I think it's really well done for when it wants to be serious. I don't find it, particularly... I wouldn't say it's a series that necessarily, oh my gosh, Sword Boys, appeals to the current, fandom tastes of, young people. It is extremely problematic, but honestly, I don't care. I love the kind of the gothy vibe that this continues to portray. It's the Victorian kind of classy, but also, yeah, a little bit hot topic-y in certain senses. If nothing else, I think Toboso's artwork is gorgeous, and these art books really showcase her work. So if you are a fan of her artwork, even if you're not necessarily a fan of Black Butler, I do think that these are really lovely books that have been put together. So yeah. Art book that I got for this month is kind of on the completely opposite side of the spectrum. Very cutesy, simple artwork. a series, manga series and anime series that we've never, the manga has never been licensed in English. The anime was streaming, maybe? I feel like it was streaming on Crunchyroll for a while. Maybe I'm getting confused and I watched like fan subs, but I'm pretty sure this was on Crunchyroll. It seems the right era for when I switched. And that is, of course, well, not of course, but this is Kimi to Boku, which this is the 18th like art book. I think it's an art book. It's not a manga. I think either 17 or like 18 proper is the final volume of this series. And if you've never watched Kimi to Boku, it's basically about it's a group of high school boys and it's a slice of life series, right? The ups and downs, heartache, and fun and humor and just, being a kid. I don't remember any of their names. I don't remember any of their names, but there's 5 guys. We have our main character who's kind of this, I think his name is Sho. He's just kind of sweet and lovely. He's particularly feminine, so he gets called, really cute and like a girl a lot. There's this kid who's kind of the spunky, mischievous, outgoing class clown type of character. He's, you can see he has dyed hair and an earring, so, we have the 2 very sardonic twins who love, like, teasing, in a very flat manner, a dry manner. The other boys, most notably our Glasses character, who is kind of a little bit more tight-laced and typically the voice of reason amongst these 5. It's been a long time since I've watched this series, but it was always really fun. I thought the anime was very, very good, and I recommend it if you haven't tried it. And I like this art style. It reminds me a lot of kind of similar series in the same genre. So yeah, that's it. That's the art book of Kimi to Boku by Kichi Hota. So next we have the newly debuting volumes or series for this month. One that I only have one, but it was one that I was really looking forward to. I read it immediately and it did not disappoint, and that is Asumiko Nakamura's Tales of the Kingdom. This is kind of a loosely connected collection of short stories all set within this one desert kingdom, and focuses a lot on brothers and brotherhood, notably twins, especially I think they're twins. I don't know. Twins in the first story, for sure. I want to say twins in the last story. There's 3 chapters in this. A beautiful collection of color pages. It has Nakamura's most really recognizable style. So if you know her artwork and you're a fan of her artwork, you kind of know what you're getting. This was really, really well done, really captures the place and the feel of where the stories are set. And it just was really good. And I look forward to the next volume. I don't know, how closely connected all of these stories will be. The second and third in this story were kind of almost directly connected. You had the third story was kind of the backstory of a different character in the second story. So there, there's crossover. As I said, a lot of focus on brothers and brotherhood, and also power struggles, dysfunction, and family and a lot of counter to what is typical in this kind of royalty story. A lot of that struggle is placed upon them. It's not something that comes within. There's not inherently a lot of jealousy or vying for power from the brothers in question. It's really interesting, and I look forward to the next volume. The conclusion of one series for this month, a series that is very near and dear to my heart. I am kind of in awe that we've made it this far yet again, and I can't wait to properly sit down and reread this series because I love it. I have been kind of rereading it here and there whenever I get the volumes. But this is, of course, the 18th Full Metal edition of Full Metal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa, collecting the last couple volumes of this 27-volume series, original 27-volume series. Guys, I wax poetic about Full Metal Alchemist quite a bit, as I do with Arakawa's other major work, Silver Spoon. But this series is what started it all for me, pretty much. I discovered anime, not through Full Metal Alchemist, but the original 2003-2004 anime was what cemented my love for this kind of medium. It introduced me to the ideas of like fandoms. It brought me to the awareness of like there is all of this anime and manga out there. It was very foundational to my life as a fan. It was also one of the first manga that I ever read, which is saying not necessarily a lot. And as always, we have gorgeous archival paper, glossy, and color pages. I don't want to flip too much because this is the end, and if you haven't read it, then it's spoilers. I'm sorry. But it is, like, this series did conclude in 2010, or early 2011. So it's been a long time. The anime adaptation of the closer anime adaptation, Brotherhood, did also finish in 2011. So, you know, it's been over 10 years. I think I am allowed a little bit of leeway. And if you haven't watched the anime, I do encourage you to do so. Especially, I mean, I love both. I think they're both great, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Brotherhood is a closer adaptation of the manga story, but all three are kind of their own unique beasts, and I recommend them all, as I've said. But yeah, this is yet again kind of like a end of an era. I really am so happy that we got these renewed, redone editions from Viz, because the original release they put out, I'm not going to say it was like inherently bad, but a lot of the translations had kind of inconsistencies insofar as like town names and things like that. So it's nice that we got a more revised, cohesive re-release in such beautiful quality, especially as it is, I would consider a modern classic. Is the series from, 2010, that I would hope that's still modern for the young kids out there. And by that I mean like the teens who are getting into anime. But yeah, it's fantastic. And I always say with this and several of the other kind of re-releases that we've gotten in the past from various publishers, it is nice that we do have kind of a more quote-unquote standard edition. There's an edition at all price points, at all different availabilities for fans and for manga readers. So if you aren't inherently like a huge super fan of the series, if you don't have the money to be spending on, like, because it's a pricier edition. If you don't have the money to spend on this new release, and you just want the story to have on your shelves, then there's either the singles, there's a box set that contains all of those singles, so you can save that way. There's also a 3-in-1 edition, similar to a lot of other shonen series that have gotten that from Viz. So it is nice that this series is available in like so many different options, and for super fans like myself, this is the edition that I knew that I wanted, and it takes kind of pride of place on my shelves because I love it. And if you haven't tried it, at least try the anime. The manga is also really good. We have the larger trim manga continuing series. The first of that is the penultimate volume, so not quite the last, of Dead Dead Demons Dead Destruction by Inio Asano, volume 11. And this, as I've said before, is the story of a bunch of young women, I guess, teenage girls who are living in a post-alien invasion Tokyo, or world, I guess, but Tokyo, who, 3 years prior to the story starting, aliens were like, hey, we're just gonna hover around here. We've got a big spaceship. There was a big skirmish. A lot of people died. A lot of things happened. But now it's been a couple years, and aliens have just kind of become a part of day-to-day life. They're not a huge threat. Most people have just gotten back to, living their lives. And for our main characters, who are these high school girls, it's quite absurd to see, like, how much humanity can adapt and how willing we are to, just kind of roll with the punches, as it were. And this series really calls that into question. I think it's something that Asano's work has always, in large part, highlighted, that humans are very adaptable creatures, sometimes to our own detriment. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'm sure I'll say it with the last volume. I do like Asano's work. I'm not inherently, like, the biggest fan of him, but I've read most everything he's put out. And like with some other creators, I do find his brand of nihilism is very particular to your mood, and like I wouldn't inherently say that people need to read his works because they are, they're in a very particular mind space, and how that affects you obviously depends, right? So in saying that, I would say that Dead Dead Demons Dead Destruction is, in my opinion, his strongest work. I will give the caveat that I've never finished Pun Pun just because I find that one so bleak. But I really like kind of the millennial style, or the Gen Z style of, again, nihilism, of like, oh, the world's going to shit, aliens are real, we're all gonna die at 25 from an environmental crisis, might as well just have cereal for dinner, right? Like, that is like, oh yeah, we're gonna make TikToks about, crazy shit, and like how society and the government is fucking us. And then also the kids are not all right. Like, they make memes about it, but they're not all right. But you try to do what you can. And I think that style of, like, well, life's fucked, right? But we still have to just kind of live, is much more easily recommendable. For one, I think this I don't. I'm not up to date with what's cool with the kids. So I can't say that like people aren't aware of the series. I'm sure a lot of people are. I think Asano has really like tapped into this generation and Zoomers, all of that. Their brand of like, hey, here's how we deal with the shitty situation we're in. Therapy, what's that? Rather than just being like completely angry and dour and really really overwhelmingly depressed and saying like there's no solution to anything like some of his other works have been in the past. So yeah, no, I wouldn't inherently recommend Asano's work for everyone, but I would recommend this particular work to more people than I could the rest of his library. And even more so, like, I think this one is better. One, it's longer, but I do think that this one is better than Solonin, which may be controversial. I don't know. But I do find this one just kind of overwhelmingly more interesting. I think it plays with a lot of Asano's usual themes in a lot more of an interesting way, notably because it has aliens, right? Like, it's a lot less grounded than some of his more popular works. So I think it actually marries his styles of like the Solonin, not not in overwhelmingly depressing story that makes you just want to, give up all hope type of storytelling paired with the more absurd elements of something like Pun Pun. So, I don't know, that's my opinion. I like Destruction quite a bit, and I look forward to the final volume. Of volume 8 of Tsubasa Yamaguchi's Blue Period. Art school, art school, art school. I like the series a lot. It has a bunch of really interesting, quirky characters, a bunch of really likable, young people. This, if you're not aware, also has an anime adaptation. Haven't watched it, can't speak to it. I don't know. It might be great, might be terrible. Who knows? I don't know. Shrug. But I will say that I do really enjoy this manga. It's the story of a high school boy who kind of abruptly at the end of his second year, I think, he kind of discovers this previously ignored or previously unrecognized real passion for art, and most notably, kind of painting. And he finds art and being artistic, the process of creation is very freeing for our main character. It's a way for him to express himself in part that he has never been able to do prior. And so it's really wonderful to read. I do enjoy this one quite a bit. I think all of the characters that surround him, all of his classmates, and the other people who he's met through kind of this journey of becoming an artist and trying to qualify for a art university or university of the arts is so good. I think it really crystallizes how important art is for our culture and for us, every single person, as a part of their self-expression. Even if you're not, you don't classify yourself as an artist in a more traditional sense, you're not a painter, you're not an illustrator, you're not a sculptor or a photographer, etc. The process of creation, of creating something that is overwhelmingly part of something that you want to share, whether that be a part of your life, whether that be part of a larger emotion you're feeling, or an experience you've had, or just looking for other people who might relate to those feelings, or experiences, or just the idea of like, hey, we like the same kind of weird shit that you do. Cool. Meeting the people who, yeah, kind of feed into your creative side and allow you to not only express yourself in a clearer way and in a really genuine way, but also finding people who supports your most authentic self without this, so the two sides of art of like having that just pure creative self-expression that is really a skill, right? To be able to bring that to life without worry and without, people inherently like dismissing that. But then also kind of the catch 22 of with a lot of artists of how to be commercial, how to commodify something, which is something from the very beginning our main character has struggled with. He was always aiming for just kind of a very typical, get some kind of degree, maybe business degree or whatever, get an office job and just kind of be set. Don't want to worry my parents with, because we can't really afford to pay for university, and I don't want to be, I want to be set up so I can have a future, and I don't have to worry, I don't have to struggle for money, etc., etc., etc. And obviously that kind of runs a little bit counterintuitive, unfortunately, to the realities of being an artist. There are not a huge amount of, especially traditional artists, painters and sculptors and that, who are are paid well, like full stop. Art has definitely been commodified. People take it a lot for granted. It's typically like the skills that you develop are also typically really dismissed or downplayed, which is really a shame, obviously, because it does take a lot to develop the skills to not only become a hyper realistic artist, or to create something to a photorealistic level, but also have those tools to break the rules of art and do so in a way that is still appealing, to find your own personal style, no matter how cartoony or simple or abstract it may be. And art, it's been said that art is kind of why humanity was put on this earth, right? Was to enjoy and to create. And I think there's some real truth to that. As I said, I see it as like every person in the world does have some latent creativity in them. It doesn't inherently display itself as like, oh, you're really good at drawing, or oh, you're really good at painting. That could be writing, that could be musical, that could be garden. There's so much creative energy in this world, and obviously in this particular series it's focused on a more traditional art route, and for traditional artists, oil and canvas and oil, typically, but everything from mixed media to photography to charcoal, life drawings, things like that. And considering like how art focus, like how much of manga is based on art, right? This is not a surprise. It's a comic. It's a comic medium, but you can really, I think, tell that artists who have had some kind of actual artistic teaching, some background in art school, and those who haven't, who are just kind of muddling along as they go. And again, that's not to say that like art school is the only way to get good at art. That's not what I'm saying. But you learn so many skills, and so many rules of art. And again, once you know those rules, then you know then you can figure out ways to break them without making something look completely wrong or at odds with what you're wanting to properly do. I'm rambling. Anyway, Blue Period is really good. I haven't even flipped it open, I don't think. It's just really, really wonderful. It has a lot of heart. I love these little quirky weirdos. Pretty typical artist. I know I did not do an art... Well, actually, I did do an arts degree. Not this kind of arts degree. But, you know, it takes a very interesting and certain type of personality to follow, you know, then an art path, especially in certain cultures. So it's just nice to see the real range of personalities within these characters. Check it out if you haven't. We have the most recent volume, Volume 9 of Phantom Tales of the Night by Matsuri. This is, oh my gosh, everything's coming together, you guys. So early on with this series, it was quite episodic. That's really not the case anymore. We do have overarching plot lines. There is a little bit of mystery. Not in all of the chapters are inherently in chronological order, if that makes sense. It jumps around in the timeline quite a bit, but you do get an idea of like what's going on, who's affecting who, and slowly, bit by bit, I think you get a little bit clearer of an idea of who this mysterious character of Innkeeper is, and their influence on not only the guests who come to stay at the inn, but also kind of the people that slowly fall into this supernatural web of, I don't know, just circumstance. Oh my gosh, though, guys, oh, this was so good. There's a lot going on. One of our other characters who's kind of like I would say he's probably the secondary main character. He's also kind of the complete counterpoint to the innkeeper. His whole family drama is really flaring up right now, where we have characters on the run. We have curses and people trying to kill other people. Meanwhile, we also have kind of the school drama stuff happening, which involves other notable and prominent characters throughout the series. Oh, guys, that's so good. And man, I will say, like, if you're not a fan of snakes, this series, I don't think you should read, because there's just a lot of snakes. And in this particular volume, people are puking up snakes. It's really effective and well done. But if that's not your thing, then maybe give this one a miss. But I absolutely adore the atmosphere, the just kind of overwhelming moodiness of the series. It captures this kind of grey morality and unsettling, low stakes, is that quite the word I want? The eeriness of a scary story, right? Of like folklore and ghosts and the creepy monsters. That I just is completely my brand. So again, I've adored the series from the very, very beginning, and it's just continued to get even better. It's really, really good, and I look forward to volume 10, which I know is out soon, because every time I get a new volume, I just absolutely devour it. for large trim general manga. I guess this is larger trim. It's not the same trim size as the previous volumes because vertical is weird. I guess Kodansha. The original, or the other series by the creator was released by Vertical. And that is Blackguard Volume 3 by Ryo Hanada. Oh my gosh, you guys. So this is a 5-volume series. We are officially over halfway through. I am not okay. I love Hanada's work already. I don't make a secret of that. I do own all of their work. Most notably is Devil's Line, which I just adore, and I really want Kodansha / Vertical to release the sequel, which is coming out right now from Hanada. Please, someone give me the sequel. It's set 10 years after the original, and I just... Oh my god, I want it. We're not talking about Devil's Line right now, though. We are talking about Blackguard, and oh my gosh. So, if you're not aware of what this series is, it's set in a dystopic future wherein humanity has... Maybe this isn't super great right now, but humanity is beset by this ongoing pandemic of wherein humans, in kind of like a zombie-like fashion, if they get bitten by someone who's infected, they turn into these monkey-like creatures called shoujo. So, you know, that's a little bit more of a weighted thing than it might be normally. But I will say that Hanada did start writing this, like, early into the pandemic, so it's not... I'm not gonna say it's inherently a coincidence. Anyway, the monkey thing might be. Doesn't matter. We're not talking about that. So, our main character is, his name, like, he's part of this security force, I guess, who go out and fight these monsters, and he is called Blackguard amongst his, fellow soldiers, or whatever they are, security people, because he wears all black, or he wears, like, this black cloak, which makes him really stick out. Everyone else is wearing white because there's, like, this fog that kind of sits within the cities, and so in order to, like, hide from the monsters, they all wear white. He wears black because he inherently has this thing that makes him suicidal. Like, he has this brain condition wherein he doesn't want to live. He's suicidal, basically. But over the course of the series, like, it's not the same as depression. It's something. I don't really know how to explain it, especially in, like, a nuanced way. I'm not gonna say it's, inherently not heavy-handed, but basically the premise is that our main character, he doesn't care about his life because he wants to die. That's why he wears these clothes to stick out. He also fights with a katana, whereas everyone else uses bullets or, like, explosives or whatever. But one day, because he's also, like, the best fighter that they have, so he doesn't just go out into the city and let himself be killed, they pair him up with this guy who's also, like, a pretty prominent, well-regarded, high-ranking, security force person, soldier, I never remember, called Chris. And, okay. So, and it's about their partnership and kind of their friendship, and over the course of the last several volumes, our main character has slowly, like, learnt more about the joys of life Well, no, that's not quite right. But like, because he has forged this connection with Chris, this other guy, he it stopped him from like ruminating on wanting to end his life. Again, not inherently unproblematic, but it's not like the worst I've seen. Anyway, so there's all stuff going on. This monkey virus pandemic is also like evolving and mutating, and so now people are getting infected without being bitten. Like, all of these things are happening, and all of this is to say nothing to do necessarily. I mean, it has a lot to do with the plot, but I tweeted about this the other day because I was reading this and I was just floored that it like actually happened, because I've talked about it before in regards to Ryo Hanada's works. It certainly comes up in Devil's Line, about how mundane queerness is. So in saying that, like, a lot of the main characters in Devil's Line are, for all intents and purposes, like heterosexual, they're a heterosexual couple, right? There's nothing too dramatic about that, but there is a lot of side characters of various sexualities and genders. Not just like, we have a gay person or a bisexual person. There's asexual representation, there's transgender representation, there's non-binary representation. There's a lot of like, and again, it's not always handled 100% perfectly, but again, like, it gets better. It gets a lot better throughout the course of the series. We talk about this, myself and Ray from Whimsical Pictures, we talk about this in our podcast episode about Devil's Line. But there's kind of a real everyday feeling of queerness in Hanada's works, especially because they don't, like, they've said before, they've spoken before about their own like gender and gender expression. They are ex-gender, probably close to like non-binary within a Western perception. I think Hanada might go by she, they, but I will just stick to they for right now. And kind of their own journey with, finding their sexuality, finding their gender identity, and comfort in that. And it is pretty it's strongly reflected in their work. So, what does that mean for Blackguard? What it means is that this series is gay AF. I was reading, and like, it's pretty heavily hinted that, there are more than just like platonic friendship feelings between our main characters. Maybe not necessarily from Chris's side, but definitely from our main character's side. And man, oh man, volume 3, holy shit. But also, even aside from that, we have characters like very off the cuff talk about like gender affirming surgery, things like just little bits and pieces that aren't, they're not plot relevant inherently. They're not hugely like this big reveal. The other characters don't like stop and comment on it outside of like, oh yeah, that's true, or what, whatever. It's just very low key, and it's I don't know, it's just kind of reassuring and really lovely to read in a series that is kind of just about, well, I would say that this series, like with Devil's Line, is about love and the different forms of love, and how humanity kind of struggles with our expressions of love. I don't know, man. Blackguard's already, like, I already knew that I would enjoy this series, and I already was enjoying this series. And then Volume 3 came, and certain plot relevant spoiler things happened, and I was like, oh damn, wow, thanks. So check it out. It's not super duper long. It's only 5 volumes. I don't know, like, how much of this is gonna stick regarding, like, again, certain plot things, and how things are reciprocated, if they're reciprocated at all. But, like, I also know Hanada's, like, personal background and history, so I have a little bit more faith in them compared to, you know, maybe some other creators. Anyway, Blackguard's really good. I will say, and I've said this before, and I've said it in regards to Devil's Line as well, like, Hanada's not the best artist. I will give critics that. It's very simple kind of style. Characters aren't inherently, like, it's not super pretty. Backgrounds aren't super elaborate. It's very to the point. But I think, like, I don't think that detracts from the storytelling at all. I actually really like the art, especially in the later parts of Devil's Line. But yeah, try it. And also there's, like, brand conspiracy stuff going on as well. So if you like that kind of story, this sort of dystopic setting, and you're looking for something within that kind of vein of genres, check out Blackguard. Of kind of standard trim size manga, and we have 2 volumes from the series. I guess just because the printing schedule is just that crazy right now. I'm not complaining. But this is volumes 14 and 15 of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun by Aida Ira. I love this series so much. This is the story of kind of a haunted high school, and the ghost that haunt Hanako-kun, who haunts the girls' bathroom, and after helping our main character Nene with her wish, she kind of becomes his assistant. Anyway, there's stuff going on. Man, they're trying to rescue Nene's friend from, like, the outer shore, or the far realm, or what, the underworld, basically. So she's teaming up with some other recurring characters. But Hanako is maybe, like, definitely the villain of this. He has his own motivations as to why he doesn't necessarily want them to save this other girl. Oh my god! And the last couple volumes, we've had, like, real insight to Hanako's character, his background, his family life before he died. Man, this is a good series. And if you're not reading it, or if you haven't watched the anime, check it out. It is worth trying. As always, I will say, like, the toilet bound part of the title doesn't really have any relevance aside from Hanako-san is a very common urban legend, and that's directly what, you know, this Hanako-kun character is, like, aping off of. Typically it's the ghost of a young girl who grants wishes. This time it's the ghost of, like, a teenage boy who's granting wishes and doing all sorts of things. I think this series is super good. It has a really good mix of, like, humor and spookiness and emotional, just gut punches. It reminds me a lot of something like Noragami in that sense. Similar vibes. Little bit less action than Noragami, which isn't a bad thing. But if you like that series, then I think you'll like this one. More high-paced compared to something like Holic, but again, similar vibes. If you like, kind of spooky story series with some heart and some fun characters and some sad backstories for characters, ghost characters, then check this one out. It's very good, and I know I've read up to volume 16 digitally, so we're catching up with the Japanese release. We're also, closing the gap between the early digital releases Yen is putting out and then the print releases. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of in the final stretch of this series. I don't know what I'm going to do when this series is over. Cry a lot, probably, because it just feels like that's what's going to happen, right? Like, man, I'm going to be sad. Yeah, but try it if you haven't. It's very, very good, and definitely one of the more, like, it's certainly within, like, my vibe. Also similar kind of to Phantom Tales of the Night. That one has probably less humor than the other two that I mentioned, or other three that I mentioned. But yeah, obviously, like, very on brand for me in particular, and I always appreciate when companies license something for me specifically. As the only person who this is not true, because I do know that quite a few people are buying Hanako-kun, which is good because I love the series, and give me more like it. Thank you. Undersized manga are all from Shoujo Beat. So the first is the most recent volume of The King's Beast by Raitoma, volume 7. This is kind of the soft spin-off of Dawn, Arcana of Time? I was gonna say Dawn of the Arcana! That is the correct name! I don't know what's going on. I thought that Dawn of the Arcana was something else, and then I was confusing it with Yona of the Dawn. Too many things. Anyway, this is set within the same world or universe as that series, which I believe might not be Ray Toma's first work, but it's the first of her works that we got in English. We also have the Water Dragon's Bride, I think that's what that's called, which is also kind of a fantasy romance series, but not set within the same universe. Anyway, regardless, this one's the best one. It's sort of a Mulan-esque story of a girl who cross-dresses in order to become the bodyguard of one of the princes, in order to find out what happened to her twin brother, who was murdered years and years before. But oh my gosh, twists! This particular volume kind of reveals a pretty large twist for our main character and her motivations. It also, holy shit, bisexual king out here who is totally ready to accept his feelings for our main character regardless of gender. Because he doesn't know that she's a girl, right? So he's, like, getting all these pitter-patters in his heart, and he's just like, I guess I'm gay? I don't know. Regardless, I'm freaking really, like, interested and in love with this person. And, unbeknownst to him, heterosexuality, but, like, it again, like Mulan, right? Insofar as, main male, like the male protagonist is totally willing to be like, I guess I'll be in a gay relationship. It doesn't matter. It's about the feelings you have for the person, which is good on you, man. But like some other people do know that she's a girl, so there's other stuff going on. But man, this series is very good. It's also so far like shorter than the other two series, and with the grand revelation of this particular volume. I don't know how much longer it'll go. I would say probably this like a similar length to the previous two. War Dragon's Bride is 11 volumes, and Dawn of the Arcana is 13 volumes. So I could see this being within like the 10 to 13 volume mark. If shorter, then maybe, but I feel like there's a lot that could be explored still. I wouldn't really want this to be wrapped up prematurely. But yeah, oh my gosh, if you like cross-dressing main characters, or like that kind of Mulan-esque story beat, if you like bisexual kings just, living, accepting themselves for who they are, if you like kind of mystery and court intrigue, if you like, characters with animal ears, then this is the series for you. And if you like some pretty like strong character chemistry, then this is the series for you. It's really nice. The art is also beautiful. Not only like in the strength of the story writing, but I think this is by far like Toma's most beautiful series. Like the artwork is just gorgeous. Much more so than the other two previous works. And again, not to say that they're bad. Dawn of the Arcana was a lot more simple, a lot less background work being done. Bride of the Water God did vastly improve on that, but I would say that this is the most like beautiful of her series. But yeah, check it out. It's a really good time. You don't need to read Dawn of the Arcana to understand this one. Yeah, well worth the read. We have volume 20 of Sorata Akiduki's Snow White with the Red Hair, again from Shoujo Beat. Man, okay, I read this, and every time I read a new volume, like, I kind of am expecting, to joke about how in love, Zen, Shiroyuki, who's our main character, and Obi are, like, as a throuple, like the OT3. But it's always, like, kind of like, like, I'm being a little bit facetious, but I don't know if Akiduki is, like, reading my tweets, because the chemistry between the three of them is so strong, and the amount of times they talk about, like, how much they love each other and, like, trust each other, and, like, how reciprocated all of their feelings are, like, on every level between every branch of that triangle is just, I don't feel like I'm crazy, because there's a lot of content there. Anyway, sorry. Aside from that, this is a really, really fun, sweet, lovely series. Again, kind of royalty romance, maybe. I don't know what I don't know what this genre is called, but it's about our main character, Shiroyuki, who's on the cover here. Bright red hair, really stood out. She ran away from her hometown, her home kingdom, because she was being forced to live in the palace with the prince of her nation. And she's like, screw that, I don't even like him. And also, I have dreams of becoming a herbalist and helping people. Anyway, she's on the run, and in the forest, she runs into this guy, well, actually a couple people, these two guys and a girl, who she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think she helps them. Like, one of them's hurt, so she helps them because, again, herbalist skills. And then discovers that the person that she helped, or the people that she helped, is the second crown prince and his two bodyguards. And he invites her to his kingdom, not only because they totally hit it off, but also because he's like, well, you can study to be a herbalist at my kingdom. I won't force you to like do whatever because of your beautiful red hair. I just want you as a wonderful, very skilled, beautiful young woman to follow your dreams. And so, yeah, she like goes and story goes on from there. Anyway, it's real like I really like the series. I think all of the character writing is really, really good. I think like the proper main relationship, the romance between Zen and Shiryuki, damn, they have some chemistry. But again, like Obi is also right there, and they all three of them have some damn good chemistry. Because Obi was kind of like introduced as the rival character, and he said like he's interested in Shiryuki, but also he's not going to do anything about it because one, loyalty, the prince, but also two, he knows that she's like not interested. Insofar as all of that, she does care about him. Oh god, I'm gonna stop talking about that. We've also over the last couple of volumes had some other stuff going on with Zen's aides, Kiki and Mitsuhide. Man, stuff is going on. And I like how things are resolved in this particular volume. But again, like, the chemistry in this series is so strong. There's a particular, part of this volume wherein all of the characters are snowed in, but Zen and Shiryuki, like, don't know that the other three are there. Because they booked, like, a separate room so they could have some time together. And, like, man... Oh my god. Oh gosh. Anyway. It's just nice to, like, have characters who are very obviously into each other, who aren't faffing about because of insecurities, who aren't, like, doing high school cliche stuff. Also because these characters are in their late teens, early 20s. Shiryuki, I think, is 19, 20. 19 to 20. Zen, sort of same age. I think Mitsuhide is the oldest at 23. Obi is 21. Like, they're all kind of, they're young people, but they're not, like, 15. You guys can't see it, but I'm doing a lot of hand motions. Yeah, Snow White with Red Hair is one that I really enjoyed the anime for. When the manga was announced, was like a really big deal and a big surprise. So I knew that, like, I definitely want to continue the series, and it just keeps getting better. It just continues to be really, really good. Which shouldn't be a surprise, but it kind of is. In that, like, 20 volumes in, you guys know that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of super long ongoing series of any kind. Especially not for, like, buying for my own personal collection. I kind of cut my most series at about 15, maybe 20 volumes. If you're going over that, then you're too long. But there are a couple notable exceptions. Union of the Dawn is one. A couple of my long, like, Haikyuu is one of them. Skip Beat. And Snow White with the Red Hair is just yet another. I'm like, God. And also, it's kind of like if it didn't finish, like, if it just keeps going, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want it to end. I mean, I do want it to end, but I also don't want it to end. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I really enjoy the series, and if you're not reading it... Did I even show you inside? I don't know. If you're not reading it, then check it out. It's very, very good, and I think it's well worth a read, especially if you like... I don't want to say slow burn romance, because it's certainly... Like, from the very beginning, it's been pretty obvious as to the characters and their feelings for each other and their relationships. But it's not like, and they confess to each other, now they're going out, and that's the end. Time skip to 5 years and they're married with a child. It's not that. It's more kind of the day-to-day slow growth of love and relationships. And also, having goals and lives and other things to do outside of romance, which is also really refreshing. That's the other thing I really like about the series, is the mutual respect that the characters have for each other's goals. Yeah. Anyway, Snow White with the Red Hair, really good. Check it out if you haven't. Long ongoing, well, I guess in English, ongoing series that I will continue probably until they're finished. Let's see if they ever gets finished though. That's the asterisk to this one. We got our annual release of Kaze Hikaru by Taiko Watanabe. This is volume 30. We are officially 2/3 of the way through this series. 45 volumes in all. It finished kind of maybe just at the beginning of the pandemic. Like, not super long ago. A couple years ago at this point. But, as longtime viewers of this channel know, this is a series that, in English, we get one volume a year for. It's very, very slow. It's also not a series that will appeal to a lot of people necessarily. This is another Mulan one, where our main female character, dresses as a boy. She joins the Shinsengumi in order to avenge her older brother and her father. And it's also like a romance between her and and a very prominent member of the Shinsengumi. It's good. It's very historically accurate. I think there's a lot of this one's a bit of an odd one because it has quite a bit of comedy in there, and some of the comedy has not aged well, because this was the series that started in maybe the late 80s, definitely the early 90s, and ran for many, many years. And so some of the early humor I don't necessarily think completely holds up. But I do really I like the kind of friendships and relationships that she has with the other Shinsengumi members. It's an interesting one. But then there's also so there'll be some comedy, quite a bit of comedy, because there is some ongoing jokes about people, certain Shinsengumi members thinking that she's a guy, and but still being attracted. They are not bisexual kings. They are trying to reject their feelings. They're not as good. But then there's also quite harrowing, there's a lot of violence, a lot of characters die. There's a lot of political, historically accurate stuff going on as to the time period. It sticks very close to the timeline of the history of the Shinsengumi. It's good, I will also say that the creator, the mangaka, Watanabe sensei, has said some not great things about COVID. I don't know if her views have changed, because from my understanding there was a lot of early comments about stuff. I don't know. And again, that's I find it problematic, but I'm still going to keep reading. Maybe that's hypocritical. But I wouldn't if that also colors your view, then I don't know. And to clarify, basically she like a lot of people pretty much just downplayed a lot of the severity of COVID, wasn't interested in talking about it as a serious health crisis. And a lot of people say that sort of stuff. A lot of people continue to say that stuff. And so I don't know. Is that a deal breaker for some people? Maybe. If it is, then there's your fair warning. That has nothing to do with this particular volume or this series, because I'm pretty sure that this series as a whole wrapped up at the very beginning of the pandemic, or maybe just before. So there's none of that in here. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Kazehikaru is one that, like, we still continue to get our yearly single volume, as I've theorized is due to contractual obligations, similarly to Hayate the Combat Butler and the other one, Detective Conan, wherein Viz has to finish it. They can't just drop it like a hot potato in a similar way they did with like Gintama or Hitman Reborn. Katayo Hitman Reborn. They, in their contract, it was like, you guys have to finish this. You started, you have to finish it. And so, in an attempt to like stick to their contract, but also like not be bleeding money, Viz is like, you guys can get your one volume. I'm pretty sure they print like maybe 100 volumes, if that. I don't know how many copies of this series are floating around in the world, but I would guess not a huge amount of people have the full set of the series. Certainly not a lot of the earlier volumes if you're just trying to get into it now. It's one that's a little bit of an esoteric piece of manga available right now, and I always look forward to my tiny crumb of Kazehikaru once a year, and it's always August every year. So until next August, and then we can say we're finally in the home stretch. 15 years from now, I am going to be a lot older than I am now. I hope that it's finished by then. Who knows if I'll still even have manga. I might just be continuing on with manga just to spite, just to be like, please, all I need is this last volume of Kazehikaru. I have waited 10 years. But we'll see. We'll see. Of waiting 10 years, I don't know if that's exactly how long people have been waiting. I'd probably say it's been longer, maybe 15 years. The first of my small term manga is an incredible continuation, and this is volume 5 of the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service Omnibus Edition, which is notable because it contains volume 13 and 14, which were released in singles by Dark Horse many a year ago, but also volume 15, which is brand new content and is a continuation of the series. They announced this, like, I want to say 6 years ago, a long time ago, at a anime expo or something. But unfortunately, as has been the way with most of the world, the pandemic done screwed Dark Horse. So we fans who were anticipating this exciting new release definitely had to wait quite a while. But it's here, it's real. I cannot believe it. Haven't been able to read it yet because I literally got this today. Technically, this isn't an August book, but I'm not going to just keep this sitting out on this table here until till the end of next month. I'm just going to do it now because this is my channel. These are my rules. But this is a really fun, quirky, again, this is maybe not a series for those who aren't into like gore, have weak stomachs. I will say, like, I'm not a horror fan. I'm a big weenie when it comes to like anything live action horror. Like, I cannot watch horror movies, even if they're dumb, cheesy, stupid ones where it's just jump scares and I know that they're coming. I still can't watch them because I am just a big baby, and I especially can't watch like splatter films or like gore, anything like that. I'm not equipped to handle that. It's too much of a mental image for me. That being said, and I get made fun of by my good friend Ray about this all the time, that I'm also, like, conversely, like, really into true crime. And also don't bat an eyelid at any of the gory details when watching, like, a documentary or listening to a podcast or something. I don't revel in, the gory details, but I'm also not... There's not a lot that irks me. I don't know what it is between, like, real horrific, terrible... The documentation of real horrible crimes and victims versus, like, the fictional violence. I don't know why they're two such disparate things in my brain and why I can handle one and not the other. I can't tell you. Maybe a psychologist could. But I will say that, like, I've read MPD Psycho, which is the other series by... I'm not sure if it's this exact creative duo, but I think it's the same artist. I want to say it's probably the same. It doesn't matter. Regardless. Similar style, similar vibe, also from Dark Horse, also uncompleted. But there are, like, a lot of very shocking, harrowing things. And again, in saying that, the fictional violence and horror in, like, manga and anime, totally fine with. I don't know it's just live action movies I have an issue with. Anyway, regardless, sometimes there's, like, limb removal and decapitation and, like, just a lot of gross, creepy stuff with dead bodies and, this series in general, as you can probably guess from the title, there's a lot of corpses in the series, because this is the story of a university club that has no money, and all of the members have... It's a club at, like, kind of like a religious school, and so, like, our main character, he's a monk. There's a, like, different shrine maiden, and is a guy who does dowsing. There's a guy who can, like, channel, I don't want to say spirits. He channels actually an alien. And then, like, the head of their club, she doesn't have any kind of religious specific thing that she does. She's really good at computers, though. She's the hacker. And then there's another girl who is, she's studying to become, like, a mortician, so she's really good at, like, funeral makeup and preparing bodies. Anyway, so they're this club, they have no money, and they're like, we need money, so they decide to... Our main character, he has the power to, like... When he touches a dead body, he can, like, bring the spirit back to it, so they can, like, converse with the dead body, and typically they do that, and then find out, like, who it was, and then, deliver the remains to the family, and then get paid, right? So it's like, oh, here's your beloved grandfather, or it's like, here, we found him, and then, with the supposition that families will be so grateful of, like, oh, thank you, that they'll get money for that. I don't know how often that works for them, but there's always some stuff going on. And then there's, like, again, our main character can do that because there's this creepy ghost, like, attached. There's a lot of supernatural stuff in this, but again, like, a lot of violence, a lot of gore, a lot of, like, not pretty dead people, i.e. corpses that have been sitting and rotting for weeks, if not longer, and the realities of that. It's not a pretty sight. But I am so excited, because this is such a quirky, fun, like, funny series as well. Man, these kids, I say kids, they are kids, they're university students, but, like, these kids, there's just, like, such great... I haven't read this particular volume, and I'll have to actually really compare between the earlier volumes and the final volume in this one of like the tone of the translation, because earlier books, I love the conversation and the banter between the characters. They really feel like real people and like, snot-nosed university students. There's just a real great tone of voice with them, and I really look forward to hanging out with these oddballs a little bit longer, and hopefully now that this exists and is out in the world, Volume 6 isn't too far in the future. If we're talking about gore, this is the most recent volume of Die Dark by Q Hayashida, Volume 4, released by Seven Seas. This is a story about a bunch of, again, a group of oddballs. This one's set in space. There's like space necromancy going on. There's hyper-violence, people getting their spines ripped out. Well, no, their skull and their spines being ripped out. People just getting murdered all of the time. Boobs, as you just saw. I love Q Hayashida. This is the creator of Dorohedoro, so it's that same kind of wild vibe that series has, with just, like, the biggest heart of found family and friendship. So this is about a kid, 14-year-old kid, what's his name? Zaha Sanko, who is this character here, who there's like a legend that if you can get his bones, I don't know if it's like if you get them or if you eat them, if you have his bones, then any wish that you have will be granted. Like, you can wish for the biggest thing and it will be granted. Obviously, like, as the owner of his own skeleton, he doesn't want other people to have his bones, because that would mean he's dead. I mean, it probably would mean he's dead. These people aren't very good. Like, he's not willing to, like, amputate a limb for some guy, right? So he has, it's just him, and he has his, like, I guess it's called a paggy. It's like a backpack. It with like a consciousness. Who is kind of his guardian. He's this rad skeleton dude here. I guess it kind of functions as both a spacesuit and like life support system, because again, this is set in space. But there's also like necromancy stuff going on. I don't really know the specifics, and knowing Q Hayashida, it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't fucking matter. All you need to know is that it's rad as hell. And then we have, Shimada Death, who is this character, who's like Senko's only friend. That's the chick with the boobs that you saw when I was flipping through, who looks suspiciously like Noi. Noi? No, not Noi. The other one. The girl from... Not Noi. The other girl from Dorohedoro. And yeah, Shimada Death is just like this weird creature of death that feasts on death, basically. And they just go around killing people who were gonna kill them, so like, it's fair, it's even. And when you got people, following you for your bones, then a lot of people are coming for you. They've got an AI little, like, weird skeleton dog rock thing, spaceship. It's cool. And then they just picked up this guy. What is his name? Oh my gosh, I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to check anyway. Oh, yeah, Hajime Damimaru. He's like, guys, can you stop saying my name? He also is, like, on the run. People are after him. I think because he can't die. Like, he dies a lot in this, but he can't die. Like, he resuscitates. He resurrects. And they're, like, this group literally called the Little Shits. And people are trying to kill them for various reasons, and they're just trying to be like, I don't want to be killed, and so they kill them back. There's this weird light cult happening. It's rad. Again, like, I don't know if I ever understand what's going on in a Q Hayashida series, but I just love her series so much. I think all of the characters are like really fun. In the second volume, there's like this whole part where the characters go to space IKEA to like deck out their cool ship, to be like, oh yeah, this place is great. We totally updated all of the furniture. And in the third volume, like the volume before this, the ship has like done this, right? So the ship, because it's an AI, like put all their IKEA purchases in, and they're like, oh my gosh, look how nice the living area is. It's just such a fun time. Like, no one else could make a series where like people get their spines ripped out of their skin and having their eyeballs flopping around and like getting their heads split and all of this stuff work so cohesively with the space IKEA trip. Or like the fact that Sanko, when he was hiding out as a kid, like on all of these, I guess, school planets or school spaceships, his fake name was Meatball Spaghetti, and like I find it's just, and they was like, oh yeah, that kid's fucking weird, Meatball Spaghetti, and it just, I don't know what's so funny about that. That's just the dumbest joke, but I laugh every single time, and yeah, I just love this series a lot. And if you enjoyed Dorohedoro, then you should absolutely check the series out. I'm so excited that we have gotten this series, because I don't want to say that it was an unlikely pick, because I do think that Dorohedoro is quite well liked, but if we hadn't had the anime adaptation, which then boosted interest in the manga, I don't think that this series would have been licensed, which is a shame, but also I'm grateful then, because, you know, we do have it, so I'm not gonna complain. Yeah, Didark is great, and it's great in, like, the very specific way that Q Hayashida series are great, and if you love them, then you love them, and you should absolutely check this one out. And lastly, for quote-unquote general manga, we have volume 9 of Mob Psycho 100 by One, released by Dark Horse. Yeah, just the continuation, the English continuation of this 16-volume comedy coming-of-age manga about a kid with psychic powers and his mentor, who's just a con man, and all the various friends and people he meets along the way, and his growth in his own self-confidence. And I've said it before, I will say it again, this is the funniest series that One has ever written. I will fight anyone who thinks that One Punch Man is funnier, because it's not. And I think that One's art is really good and makes the series even funnier. And I think at 16 volumes, I haven't read the whole series, obviously, but I do think that there's a reason why this series and the anime adaptations has stayed, like, people have more fond memories of this series compared to One Punch Man, which obviously also has 2 anime series, is quite well regarded, is also a comedy, different genre, but not super different, which is way longer. And like, I think, and again, not to say that One Punch Man is bad, I don't think it's bad, but I think it's just too long. It's kind of lost itself, and I know it's an adaptation of the webcomic, but I still do think that it's, you know, lost a lot of what made it poignant, and I think the reasons that people like it kind of miss the point as to what One Punch Man was meant to be about and what it was criticizing. Maybe, I don't know, I don't hang out with that many people who talk about One Punch Man. But Mob Psycho 100 is better, and I am the judge, so I say what I say goes. No, enjoy whatever you want, everyone. I'm being silly. But I will say that I adore Mob Psycho 100. I'm relieved that we've gotten this next volume. Again, I have more faith in Dark Horse now than you could say like 5 years ago, but I'm not gonna say that I'm completely at ease. Until this series is completed, I'm not gonna be at ease, right? Like, I just give me all the volumes, because I don't want to be stuck in an eternity hiatus like so many of Dark Horse's earlier manga series were. But yeah, check this one out. Mob's a great character. His friends, Reagan, of course, is like such a great character, despite being, you know, a con man. He's got a lot of heart to him, and again, just kind of this weird found family vibe. It's a great series, and it really captures a lot of like the themes of growing up and discovering yourself and being in that really difficult age bracket of, 14, 15, and trying to figure yourself out. It's just really expertly done, and I love Mob Psycho 100 for everything that it does. Yo, manga! Oh my god. So I read this in the car the day that I got it. And when I mean in the car, I was waiting for my gym session to start. And the sad thing is that these volumes are so skinny that I was able to read it all before I had to go into the gym. But it's also like a testament that I just absolutely consumed. It was like, I need to know what happens now. This is Cherry Magic by Yu Toyota Volume 5. This is 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a super sweet romance about a guy who, once he turns 30, because he's a virgin, he becomes a wizard so he can hear the thoughts of anyone that he, like, inadvertently touches. He can read their minds and hear their thoughts. And one day, inexplicably, he accidentally, like, bumps up against his coworker who has a big fat crush on him. And he's like, because, again, he's a virgin, he's like, I don't understand relationships. What do I do? This guy's, like, so cool and handsome and hot. I'm very confused. But fear not. Over very quickly, actually, he kind of, like, discovers and develops his own feelings for this guy, and now they're dating. And kind of an interesting thing that they wrapped up quite quickly. It was posited in the last volume, because they started dating last volume, about, like, did our main character want to tell the truth to this guy about how he can, hear his thoughts and read his mind, and if so, like, how will he react, and, what does that mean for the trust in their relationship? I thought it was, like, it's an important part of the story, and I thought it was very well handled, but more notably was, like, how quickly it wrapped up. That was actually addressed in this particular volume. I thought that might have been stretched out for longer, but I'm happy that it's not, right? Because that would have just been a bunch of undue drama, and I don't want any drama in this series. No drama allowed. Only sweet, adorable, fairy floss romance, right? I just want the cavity-inducing love story between these two goobers, and, yeah, that's all I want. I don't know if the series is technically still ongoing. I want to say it's probably finished. I've seen some stuff from the artist on their Twitter, so would say that it's probably finished with volume 10, but I don't know. I don't know. Might still be technically ongoing. I can't tell you. But if, regardless, we're about halfway through of what's currently available. And I like it when characters, like, get their act together and start dating early on. You can tell I've been just burned by so much freaking high school romance of will they, won't they. I don't want that in my life. I want people who know what they want and go for it. And also I just appreciate when a series can, like, look at a relationship after a confession. We know this, hopefully. If you've been watching my videos a long time, that shouldn't come as a surprise. But this series is so cute, guys. The series is so cute. It's really sweet. It's not like, you know, gonna win a Nobel Prize of Literature. But if you just want, like, a warm, soft, heart-squeezing romance series in your life, then absolutely check this one out. It also has a live-action drama, which I haven't watched, but I hear nothing but good things. It's on Crunchyroll. I actually do want to really watch it. Soon. I promise soon. Next we have the second volume of this ongoing series, a spin-off sequel kind of to another series released by this publisher, and that is Meguru Hinohara's Therapy Game Restart, which is in the same universe as like XXX Secret and Therapy Game, the original series. Oh, there's some really good character development. Also, like, I'm pretty sure there's kind of a character twist reveal at the end of this particular volume. Things are cranking up. For some reason, I thought this was the, like, final volume of the spin-off. I'm really glad that it's not, though, because I like the series a lot. I like these characters and their relationship a lot. I don't think there's anything particularly spicy in this book, but I'm gonna just look at it up here just to make sure. These are the brothers of the couple from the original, like, the XXX Secret, and who are also dating. But this volume focuses a lot on these characters and their goals for their relationship, but also their, you know, personal goals for their careers and how they adapt to each other, especially this character, how he, like, starts to slowly accept the seriousness of, like, the relationship that he's in and starts to confront some of his insecurities about relationships and love. It's really good, and I can't wait for the next volume. I don't really know what else to say. This is quick and, you know, to the point, but Therapy Game Restart is really good, and I recommend it. For the manga, we have the 6th volume of Sasaki and Miyano by Sho Harusono, the sweet romance between two high school boys. That's it. One who's kind of a closet fudanshi. He doesn't like talking about how much he likes BL manga at school because, you know, that's not that common of a thing for teenage boys to be into. And then his senpai, who just is head over heels for him, and their stinking cute romance. It's very good. We've gotten the spin-off manga and I think maybe the novel licensed as well for the side couple, which is good news, everyone. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't read this one yet, so I will sit down and do that today, hopefully. But it's a really sweet series. Recently got an anime, which I haven't watched. I'm gonna get to it, guys, I promise. But yeah, it's been nice to see not only more BL manga adaptations, but just more BL manga being licensed in general. This is a Yen Press release, who aren't inherently that well known for BL manga, so yeah, it's been a nice change of pace, and I hope we continue to get more wonderful series like this one from all the publishers. Fan books. This one's a bit of a mix of informational and manga, so I'll start with this one. This is The Adventurer's Bible, Delicious in Dungeon World Guide by Ryoko Kui, which is fantastic. I loved this book. It just kind of gives you a little bit of a snapshot of all of the characters, their personalities, their skills, but then also like a couple short manga about them and their friendships and various relationships, as well as the world and all the different monsters that inhabit it. This is such a good book, and this is such a funny series anyway, but I just love Ryoko Kui's sense of humor. I love her creativity in all of the different adaptability of the type of monsters and how the characters react to them. And it's so good. I just really like how diverse and interesting and clever and creative the series continues to be, despite being kind of a bog standard, dungeon crawler type of, D&D type of series. It's super duper good. I highly recommend it. This and Heterogenea Linguistica, or Linguistico, which is this kind of low-key slice of life, mundane parts of a fantasy world. This one being food, Linguistico being about language and speech. Yeah, if you like kind of low-key, funny slice of life series, then Delicious in Dungeon is one of the best ones out there, and this is a great companion to the series as a whole. Be sure to check it out. Next, we have The Ascendance of a Bookworm, I'll Do Anything to Become a Librarian official fanbook volume 2. It's been a little while since the first fanbook, not that long ago. This one has short stories and things up until volume 1 of part 4, which was recently released in English. So yeah, it's pretty much in line with what to expect. Also, of course, little manga bits and pieces for those who are following the manga adaptation. I love Bookworm. It's one of my favorite light novels. It's one of my favorite isekai, if not my only favorite isekai, because I do like J.K. Haru, but for a more traditional isekai, it's probably my favorite. And so it's kind of as expected for me to pick this fan book up. Yeah, Bookworm, I also got volume 2 of part 4. So this is The Ascendance of a Bookworm, I'll Do Anything to Become a Librarian, part 4, Founder of the Royal Academy's So-Called Library Committee, volume 2, by Miyakazuki and Yoshina. I mean, this series it gets better and better. The actual novels keep getting chunkier as well. Oh my gosh, this series is the amount that it's changed, it's such an adaptable story. It continues to, develop and evolve over the course of the series. And if you like magic schools, but you don't want to, one, support transphobes, or 2, you like isekai but you also don't like slave ownership, then check out this one because it's really good. And it's just kind of a great time. It's just kind of a great time. I really have a lot of fun with it. Every time there's a new volume, it'll punch you right in the heart and then like dig their nails and then rip your heart out, but also like in a fun way and also kind of a horrifying way. There's a lot going on in this series and I adore it. It is one of my favorite light novel series coming out. Between this and my other favorite from J Novel Club, which hasn't gotten a print release yet, but it will. I keep insisting that it will. I don't know if it actually will, but if the Apothecary Diaries doesn't get a physical print, I will literally start a riot. I don't know. Anyway, neither here nor there. This is a great series, although it's long as well. Like, this is probably the longest of the light novels series that I follow. It's already, I don't know if like actual volume to volume wise it's longer than Bakuno, but I know that like the volumes that have been released in Japan is far past Bakuno. So this one is probably the longest that I have. And it will be longer than Spice and Wolf. It will be longer than most anything else, which that's a bit daunting. Danmai, which is Chinese boys love novels. And so first and foremost, we have the first one that I got this month. I haven't read this one yet because I prioritized the other one that I got this month, just because I'll talk about it. But this is volume 3 of The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Modao Zushi, by Mo Xiang Tongzhu, or MXTX. I mean, this is one of MXTX's more popular works. I love the series. I've seen the animated adaptation of it, the Donghua. I am probably going to get the comics version. I'm definitely going to read it in some capacity. But yeah, this is probably her most famous works. I want to say Heaven Official's Blessing is probably her most popular work, but this one's her most famous, if that makes sense. I love the series. Also has a live action adaptation called The Untamed on the other one, Netflix. That's the word. This is Sad Backstory, the novel. So I kind of put this off a little bit because I knew it would rip my heart out, and I wasn't ready for it. And also I had to read volume 2, which I have. It was good. I mean, also ripped my heart out, but, it is what it is. Fantastic series. Really look forward to checking this one out. And I'm gonna see, where's the picture? There's a picture that'll emotionally ruin me. Where's another one? Oh my god. Anyway, we're not gonna keep reading that. We're just gonna... Great series. If you like boys kissing boys, you won't get a lot of it in this series. Not as of right now. But this one and the other... This one will eventually reward you for all of the hurt and suffering that Danmai has. It will eventually reward you in this particular series. The other Danmai that I got, also from MXTX, for this month, is The Scum Villain Self-Saving System, Volume 3. I read this one because this is the end... the actual story finale for the series. It does have another volume coming out, which is side stories. I think both prologue and epilogue stuff, which is good. This one does have an explicit scene, although not a nice one necessarily. I'm very dubious consent, extremely dubious consent. It is handled as this is not a good thing, but also if I don't do this, the world is gonna end. So alright. Which isn't super romantic, but it's also very in line with these characters and the storyline, and also our main character being just the most unreliable narrator. I'll be interested to see how the side stories handle these characters after the fact. I really liked how the series wrapped up, actually. I already liked the series. It's definitely the black sheep of the MXTX novels. It's certainly not nearly as popular as her other two, but I don't know. There's something refreshing about it. I think it's very funny. It plays to its tropes really well, or the awareness of its tropes, and it's really very tongue in cheek. As I said, the most unreliable narrator in the world. But it's just like it is actually quite funny. I thought that the nuance that the series continued to feed the protagonist, he's just like, oh my god, like this is actually these side story, like these plot threads that were meant to be in the original story are actually pretty good. I thought it's just like a wild time. Everything from like the big bad thinking that our main character just could only have threesomes to like just oh my there's just all sorts of things going on and it's a good time. Obviously with any danmai, I think you should know what you're getting into, and I don't just mean that as in like, oh, you need an awareness of Chinese history. No, I don't think you need that. I will say that, and I've said this before in regards to all of the danmai that have been released, not just from Seven Seas, but also from like Peach Flower House. I haven't seen anything from Violecti yet because, you know, that's a whole other issue. And like I get it. I get that danmai folks don't want like certain terms and like titles and things to be changed, and by titles I mean like, you know, specific phrases for a teacher or, you know, honored brother or whatever. Like I understand that. I see it kind of in the same sense as like, you know, there are weebs that are like, if you even think of touching a suffix from my pure Japanese manga, then you're just one of those SJWs trying to put in feminism into my manga. How dare you bastardize this translation? Like on one hand, like I get it, and I don't think like inherently everything needs to be translated, but I do think that we're in a difficult position, especially compared to like light novels and how those were approached early on, um, where there was this level of like we need to educate new readers a little bit on what all of these terms mean, and like nowadays you don't need to explain necessarily like what senpai or sensei or whatever means to a lot of anime fans. But for me, as like someone who knows nothing about, you know, the polite mannerisms of, you know, various traditional Chinese or Mandarin or, you know, any of that, I don't know any of it. Right? I do kind of need my hand held a little bit. So, you know, sometimes I don't want to be flipping to a glossary every single second. And I do think that Seven Seas balances that out pretty okay. Um, and I'd liken their attempts to something like, you know, the Holic novel. That's the one I always go back to because that has footnotes. That was a very early light novel from Viz. But you know, it's now like current fans who have been reading, you know, fan translations and machine translations and have been just like totally submerged in danmai for the last 3 years. They may roll their eyes like, oh, why would they ever change this word? Like what it just doesn't have the same thing. It doesn't have the same feeling. And like I get it, but also, you know, 9 times out of 10 you can translate it. 99 times out of 100 you can translate it into English and not lose anything. You know, people aren't going to not you're not going to lose, you know, the idea. Like there's no actual difference between sensei and teacher, right? Except for the orientalism that makes people think that Asian languages and Asian culture is just so much more advanced and wonderful and nuanced compared to English, and that you just feel that way because English is your first language and all of the mystery and mysticism of it is gone. You don't have that, right? And again, I don't inherently think like, oh, we need to translate every single thing and that like you shouldn't force English speakers to have to learn new words from other languages. That's also not what I'm saying, because there's certainly things that do have slight differences or don't have a one-to-one translation into English, but I just want to kind of mention that because like I see so much Orientalism about Japanese, and then I can only imagine I have a fearful vision of the future that the same thing is going to happen to Danmai and kind of Chinese Chinese media in general. We see it with Korean media, like K-pop and K-dramas and stuff all of the time as well. I'm not super, like, I don't really follow any Korean fandoms or K-pop or anything, but my sister does. And, like, man, you guys really need to chill out. And I mean, you guys in general, you guys just, we're all just humans. They're all just languages. They're all just meant to be functional to be able to communicate in society, and no singular language is better than any other. And again, 9 times out of 10, talented and informed people can create a accurate translation that captures the mood, that captures, the intent of what it is. And, I don't know, I'm complaining about something that hasn't really, I'm sure it's happened. I'm absolutely sure it's happened already. But, like, I just, anyway, I'm happy to have finished the main story of the series. I'm looking forward to the final volume. I'm looking forward to more of MXTX's works. I'm also looking forward to the novels, the Danmai that Seven Seas just announced, namely the 2 Priest novels, as well as Thousand Autumns, which is not by Priest, by someone else. I don't know who it is. Don't attack me, but I know that's a very popular novel series. I will be buying all 3, similarly to me buying Husky and Shizun, Tuha. That's it. Yeah. I'm reading all of the Danmai. I'm also reading other publishers' Danmai because I enjoy it. Last but certainly not least, I mean, maybe this is a little bit of the least. I got the singular novel, Tower of the Sun by Tomihiko Moromi. This is by the creator of Tatami Galaxy, The Nice Short Walk On Girl, Penguin Highway, and novels that haven't been released in English, The Eccentric Family. This is an interesting one. So this was Moromi's debut work, and man, oh man. So this won an award, which is why it was published. It's about a university student who's like, when this was written, this was 2003, like, incels didn't exist yet, and I wouldn't say the character is like an incel, inherently an incel, but like, he definitely appeals to this idea of like, I don't even need a girl, right? Like, women and girls are just so complicated. I have ascended to like a higher level of thinking, and any dude who like wastes his time on relationship, it's just like definitely some incel logic there. I will say though that like this guy has had a girlfriend, so he's not actually that as pathetic as like a lot of IRL incels. Anyway, but because of that, and because of like how he talks about relationships and like his friend group and how they're all just like bachelors who don't need any girls. That he's very grating. I'm like, oh god, dude, you're so pathetic. Like, if you could actually hear yourself. But I will say, so I can absolutely understand if anyone like tapped out early and was like, this fucking guy, I can't, like, he's the main character, it's all from his perspective. God, I hate you. Yeah, he can be very annoying. But I will say that I think the way that Moromi tells the story isn't to be like, oh yeah, isn't this like such a great protagonist? I think it's more about how he uses that logic and that reasoning as a way to like deny his own feelings and protect himself from rejection, and also as a way to like not deal with the emotions he has after breaking up with this girl. And oh my god, like he is definitely kind of a stalker to his ex-girlfriend. Like there's some stuff going on. But I will think like the general topic of this is about like coming to terms with the end of a breakup or a relationship, coming to terms with the breakup or the end of a relationship, in a healthy, well-adjusted way. And in order to do that, you need to actually face the other person and not like run away and hide or just like dismiss, the other person is just not understanding and just not being good to whatever. And that's something that doesn't inherently become apparent, but it does until the end of the series, or the book, I should say. But I will say that I don't think the narrative ever like portrays this guy as like, oh, you definitely want to be like this dude. I would say that the narrative is pretty self-aware of just like how fucking annoying this guy is. And his friends. And like again, I don't inherently there's some of his friends where you can understand why they don't have a girlfriend. They absolutely are just see no problem in being just the worst kind of people, and like obviously if someone doesn't accept me for exactly who I am, then they're the problem. But then there's also people who, like some of his friends, who are just kind of not, necessarily the type of people that are super popular. And so when people do start to like recognize that, they're kind of floundering and not sure what to do. It's a complicated book. I wouldn't say that like this is a must read. I would recommend any of Moromi's titles before this one, but I do think that there's a potential that if you haven't finished this book, that like the quote unquote comeuppance, or the point of it won't be completely obvious to you. It pays off at the end, is what I should say. And like you shouldn't force yourself to slog through it if you're not enjoying it. And man, yeah, grating. It can be a grating experience for sure. And especially as a young woman, or someone who was a young woman, I don't think a lot of my viewers will necessarily like relate or sympathize with this dude, including myself. Like I just, oh god, yeah, pain in the ass. But I do think that like there's not a maliciousness to this, or to this character, or to his like personality that you see with a lot of like what we would now call incels. And again, he's not like a hero, and this is not meant to be seen as a good story about a good person. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's strong for a debut work, and for who Moromi was writing for, I think this definitely appeals to that, like, to that audience. I'd also say that, like, this kind of character archetype, he's perfected more so over the course of his career. It reminds me a little bit of the main character, the kid in Penguin Highway, which is a more understandable, like, the self-analytical side of that, and the blasé, or like the superiority complex that kid has makes more sense because he's in the 4th grade and thinks he knows everything. He's like, oh yes, I understand so much about the world. I'm like, kid, you're 10. He has this self-awareness that makes him a brat because he's 10 years old, right? And then also kind of like the pathetic loser type that you see in Tatami Galaxy, which is, like, not nearly as heavy-handed as in this, or at least in the anime adaptation. I don't know, I haven't read the novel yet, I'll get to it. So I think that, you know, this is a character style that Moromi likes, that he's gotten better at handling and writing and making more understandable and sympathetic over his, 20-year career. So if you do want to give this one a miss, you're not losing out on some genius mastery, but I do think that this is a pretty interesting starting point, and it's an interesting work to compare to his later works, and I find it, just kind of a curiosity within Moromi's catalog of titles, and kind of an interesting insight as to who he is and how he likes to work and how he likes to write, insofar as the themes he likes to play with and the character types he likes to play with. It's a good time. It is actually worth reading if you're wanting to. Everything. So many books. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions, questions from any of the titles that I talked about today. I still haven't done my collection video because it's still a work in progress. I don't know, well, you can't really tell from here, but there's a lot of mess still ongoing, so I don't want to show off anything until it's all clean and tidy. I'm still downsizing. It's certainly slowed, but that's only because a lot of stuff went very quickly at the very beginning, and now it's just like little bits and pieces here and there that still need to find new homes. And while I say that, there's still a chunk of stuff that need to find new homes. And once I tidy up and reset up the shelves and make everything nice and lovely, then I can show all of you guys. But until then, thank you for your patience on that. I know it's been quite a long ongoing process. Anyway, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can listen to the latest episode of the Read Right to Left podcast. I just posted it on this channel this morning. So we talked about Moto Hagio. We took a little bit of a break as Ray moved over internationally. She headed back to the US, so she's now settled and happy to restart. So we were talking about Moto Hagio this month, a favorite of both herself and myself. So check that out if you're interested. It's on here as well as every podcasting platform. What else? Nothing else. I don't know. Sorry. But yeah, I do have a couple videos planned, and I'll keep you guys updated as to when those will be happening. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye till then.